Hey, gang. Captain Handsome here, ready to talk about, obviously, the AFC North. Without anything funny to start off with, we're going to get her going right away with the Pittsburgh Steelers. First of all, I just want to say I think that this is going to be the toughest division to pick a winner in, because I think, obviously, the Steelers are very strong. It's probably the last year for the Killer Bees. And beyond that, I think that both Cincinnati and Baltimore did a bunch of good things this offseason to improve themselves. So I think this is going to be the toughest division to pick. But we'll start with the Steelers because they're the incumbent. They have the big names: Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger. So let's talk about where they sit. They're basically the same team as they were last year. So we know that they're going to be a good offensive team. We know that defensively they're going to struggle with tackling, as they did. We know that the Ryan Shazier loss definitely affected them greatly, and it's what I think might stop them from taking that next jump this year and getting that title for the Killer Bees before Le'Veon Bell goes somewhere else next year. Everyone's talking about Washington replacing Bryant and being a stud. And, I mean, it's easy to do it in the preseason. We'll see what he does in the regular season. I'm sure he's a fine receiver. For me, the guy that I'm most excited about was the guy I was excited about last year, is Vance McDonald. I really think Vance McDonald can be somebody special. I think he can be a great tight end. I think they've had, because they've got Grimble and they've got James, I don't know why I can't remember his name. But anyways, they've got two unimpressive, tight ends. And then they've got Vance McDonald, who I think has a ton of offensive upside. I really hope they use him. I really hope that they push him forward, because he's the guy that I think is the sneaky, maybe sleeper from a fantasy perspective guy. From an offensive standpoint, they're good. Their offensive line is solid. They've got a quarterback who I don't like as a human being, but I can't argue that he gets it done. He's got a good arm. The team believes in him. And obviously him and AB, although he's going to be happy that Todd Haley's gone. Apparently, from my understanding, he's hoping to do more no huddle stuff, and Todd Haley obviously wasn't a fan of that. Todd Haley likes all the trick stuff and all that whatnot. So it's going to be a different Ben Roethlisberger this year. You're going to get to see him do more of his kind of stuff. He's probably going to be a little bit happier because Haley's gone. The offense is still going to roll. You still have, in my opinion, the best receiver in football, and maybe the best running back in football. I mean, I'm a huge Le'Veon Bell guy. I have no idea why they just don't pay him. I know that they're offering him a lot of money, but he's not a running back. The guy basically plays wide receiver and running back for your team. Pay the man. And I know running backs don't get paid in this league, but when you have a guy who's transcendent like that, who does so many things so well, you got to pay him. Now, what's going to happen now is they're going to let him touch the ball 700 times this year. He's going to, they're going to burn him out because they know he's not coming back next year. But I guess that is what it is. Defensively, like I said, they don't tackle well. I think that they're in some trouble there, and I think that they're going to really struggle to fill the void that the giant void that Ryan Shazier leaves. So I still think that they're going to be a 9-10 win team. I wonder if they're going to win the division. I'm picking a different team to win the division this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers did. I think it's going to be a 3-horse race between everybody but the Browns. And I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if both wildcard spots came out of this division. The next team I'm going to talk about is the team that I am picking to win the division, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. If you'll remember last year, I lambasted them for letting Zeitler and Whitworth go, and it showed in their offensive line play, and it showed in their offense because of that offensive line play. However, this year, they did a couple of really smart things. They went out and got Cordy Glenn. They drafted Billy Price. Even though Billy Price went to a rubbish school, I still think he's a massive upgrade for that team, and I think their offensive line is going to be a lot better. Otherwise, I mean, they have a running back who I really don't like as a human being. I think Joe Mixon's a piece of human trash, but that doesn't mean he's not talented. And I love Gio Bernard. So I think the running game is going to be really, really strong. The receiving core, it is what it is. We're going to see who John Ross is. We're going to see if he makes a difference for them. I love AJ Green. I think AJ Green is exceptional. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for being one of the top, probably three wide receivers in the game. People think he's good, but I just don't think he gets enough credit, probably because he plays in Cincinnati and he has Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. Now, that's the one area I don't love Andy Dalton. I mean, everybody jokes Andy Dalton is the exact medium of all quarterbacks, but I think that he can do enough to get them through enough games, and especially if they rely on the run with the improved offensive line. I think offensively they're going to be fine. Defensively, they're in great shape. I mean, I believe they just re-signed Atkins, and I think there was somebody else they re-signed, but I can't remember. But this defense was really good last year. They were one of the top three defenses as far as yards per play, if I'm not incorrect, and I think it was adjusted yards per play for the competition. That's an impressive stat. The team should win more games when your team is that good defensively, but when your offensive line is a tire fire and you don't have a quarterback who can do things, he's not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's made things work without an offensive line for years. Andy Dalton can't do that. But this year, I think the offensive line is better, and Andy Dalton has shown in the past when he has an offensive line, he can be a competitive quarterback. I think his numbers will be above middle of the road this year. I still don't think he's an above middle of the road quarterback, but I think he's playing with enough talent that it will make him look better again, and probably save a coach who shouldn't be in the league's job. So that's where I see the Bengals. I forgot to touch on fantasy with the Steelers. Obviously, it's super easy with the Steelers that for fantasy reasons, you love AB. I think AB is probably the number 5 overall selection. Roethlisberger's the kind of guy who you can probably get as QB 10. And if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, that's pretty good value for me. And I love Vance McDonald. I've said that, all the way along. I love Vance McDonald. Le'Veon Bell, obviously, is the number 1, 2, or 3 pick, depending on, how you feel. If you're PPR, I think that he's got to be top 2 if you're in a PPR. Back to the Bengals story. With the Bengals, as far as that, AJ Green is going, I think, as YR4 or YR5. That's about where he should be. Don't touch Andy Dalton. Joe Mixon's going super early, and I probably don't touch him just because I don't like him. But I think he's going as like RB6 or RB7. And if my choice is between him or Alvin Kamara, I'm taking Alvin Kamara all day, simply because I just think that Mixon didn't do anything last year and Alvin Kamara did. So, I don't think you throw a flyer on John Ross because we don't know who he is. And highly touted rookie wide receivers who have a bad first year usually don't have a great second year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Maybe you look at Croft from a tight end perspective because you've got a tight end who can't stay healthy. So your backup tight end might be valuable. I wouldn't take him as a starter, obviously, but if you've got a deep league and you want to throw him on your bench, he might be an option because last year when he filled in, he was really good. And that's how I see the Bengals, who I think are probably the division winner this year at 10-6. Then we'll go to the Ravens. The Ravens are another team, solid defensively. I said last year I loved the Jefferson pickup. I don't think he delivered as much as I thought he would, but I think that he, a year into the program, will really, really be a stud this year. Their defense is good. I don't think that anybody's going to argue that. We know that their defense is very, very strong. Offensively, they went out and got Crabtree and John. Why can I not remember his last name? I'm trying to cheat John Brown. They went out and got Crabtree and John Brown. If you follow me, you know I'm a huge John Brown fan. I think the guy's got jets. I feel like he was on the verge of being a stud, then got hurt a bunch, and then just kind of fell off. So from everything that I'm reading and seeing from people who are smarter and more in the know than me, he's had an excellent camp, and they're really excited about him. So we'll see what happens with John Ross. Crabtree's Crabtree. He's going to fight for everything. He's a grinder. He's the kind of guy who fights for every down. Don't rip off his chain, or you'll you'll hear from him. The receiving core is pretty solid. They drafted a tight end who everybody seems to be in love with. From a running game, I mean, they've got Alex Collins and Buck Allen, and that's okay. It's not spectacular, but it's okay. Everybody says Flacco looks rejuvenated because he's got some challenge now, and I guess we'll see what comes of Flacco. I've never been a huge Flacco fan. I think he's basically at Andy Dalton's skill level, maybe even less. He just happened to have, I mean, he had that great playoff run, and he did have, I mean, it was a year or two later where he was looking pretty good again. The year they lost to the Patriots, I think he was looking good again. But I think he's lost it. I just don't think he has it anymore, and I wouldn't bank on him. For me, I mean, I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. I don't know if this is the year that he gets there. I don't know if he gets the chance. I mean, he skewered my Dolphins. I thought he looked really impressive against the Dolphins. They called it his breakout game, and it was, because he hadn't looked impressive before that, but he looked very impressive against the Dolphins. So I think the Ravens are going to be probably an 8 or 9 win team. I think they probably, I honestly, if I had to pick right now, I've got Cincy winning at 10-6. I've got Pittsburgh and the Ravens both at around 9-7, taking the 2 wild card spots, just because I don't think the AFC is very good, and I think that it'll be easy for them to win that many games and do that. So that's where I have the Ravens. As far as fantasy goes, it's tough. I mean, Crabtree, you'll be able to get him around, like, I think it's like YR22 or YR23, and I think that's about where he should be. I think if you want to sneak John Ross in late, I think he's got some opportunity there. I know that I said I liked Mike Gesicki. I really struggle with Hayden Hurst as a rookie tight end, but they seem to really like him, so he's another guy who, like, maybe you want to throw him on your bench and see if he does something. Alex Collins is Alex Collins. He's going around the same place as Jay Ajayi, and I'd probably take Alex Collins over Jay Ajayi because I think that he is going to get more consistent touches. I think there's too many running backs in Philadelphia, too many good running backs. I think Corey Clement's going to get enough touches that it's going to prevent Jay Ajayi. So I like Alex Collins in that area. I have him ranked right below Kenyon Drake and right above Jay Ajayi, and that's where I think he belongs. And that's how I feel. I mean, and you can't not talk about Justin Tucker. I almost forgot about Justin Tucker, and that would have been a big mistake because he is the only kicker to me that matters in fantasy. He's the only guy that I would ever pick, as opposed to what I usually do in fantasy, I'll be honest with you, is I fill up my roster and I don't take a defense or a kicker, and then right before week 1, I stream a kicker and I stream a defense. That's just usually what I do. The only guy that I would ever pick is Justin Tucker. He's just, the guy's basically automatic 50+, and that's awesome. You should be in this league nowadays, but he's just the most consistent deep kicker, and if your league offers you more points for deeper kicks like most of them do, he's a good guy to have. Moving on to the Browns, the team that everybody in the world is all over right now. I was told recently that there have been more bets placed on the Browns to win the AFC North than any other team, which just blows my mind. I can understand thinking a team's going to be better, but thinking a team that has won one game in 2 years is going to win the division is insane. It's insane. It's almost like betting on the 2008 Dolphins to win the division after going 1-15 the year before. No, it's crazier than that because the Browns have won one game in 2 years. The Dolphins won one game in 1 year. They won one game in 2 years. It's insane. Now, I'm not denying they're going to be a better team. Of course they're going to be a better team. They have 2 quarterbacks who are better than any quarterback they had last year. They have a receiving core that looks strong. Josh Gordon should be back, and who knows how much he plays or whether he's in and out, but he's super talented. He's a burner. He's incredibly skilled. They've got a good slot guy in Jarvis Landry, who apparently is not just a slot guy. I got nothing bad to say about Landry as far as his competition level, who he is on the field, how he is as a receiver. As a human being, he's a bit of a clown, but he was one of my favorite players on the Dolphins, and he's still going to be one of my favorite players to watch. I love because very few people leave it all out the way that he does. So nothing to say about Jarvis Landry, even if he talks crap about my Dolphins. I don't care. I think the guy's an incredible athlete, and he leaves it all out on the field like he should. All of that said, I think losing Joe Thomas is huge. Their offensive line is still going to be okay, but it could have been elite if Joe Thomas had stayed and still been Joe Thomas. For me, he might be the best left tackle of all time. To be able to do that much on a team that was terrible for so many years, I mean, it's a tough. There's a debate, but for me, he might be the greatest of all time. And he's one of those guys who, I mean, I just think you just throw him in the Hall of Fame right now because there's no debate about it. I know they got rules and stuff, but he's just one of those guys I really like. And I always liked his opinion. He wasn't afraid to speak out for himself. Huge Joe Thomas fan. So I mean, from an offensive perspective, you've got a couple of quarterbacks who look better. I mean, I'm not a huge Baker Mayfield guy. You'll know that. I think Sam Darnold was the better choice. I actually think that the Cardinals got the guy who I thought I still think is going to end up being the best quarterback out of all of them. But I'm not a huge Mayfield guy, and I think it's really tough for a guy who ran a spread offense to come into the NFL and understand an NFL offense, and I think we've seen that a lot. There have been a few, occasions where it has worked, but I think we've seen in a lot of cases that it's very tough for a spread offense quarterback to come into the NFL and understand a complicated NFL offense. So, and if you look who their offensive coordinator is, it's a guy who just came from Pittsburgh who liked to do this tricky stuff and stuff like that. And so we'll see what Haley's offense, if it lends itself to Baker Mayfield. And I know Tyrod or whatever his name is supposed to be now, is going to be the starter to start. But I'm interested to see, because I have no doubt that at some point this year we see Baker Mayfield, because I don't think that the Browns are going to be an 8-win team or anything like that. I think the Browns are going to be a 4-win team probably. Currently, for the record, you can get on Bet365, you can get the Browns under 5.5 at plus $1.25, and for me, that is free money. So I know I haven't done a ton of betting stuff on these previews. It'll be pretty much all betting once the previews are done, but this one I can't speak enough of. My buddy Josh alerted me of at the time it was under 5, you got plus 140, but I love under 5.5 at plus 125. I hammered it. That was an aggressive bet for me. It was one of those ones where I put way too many units on it, but I really think that it's free money, so I'm gonna run with it. I mean, defensively, you got Myles Garrett. You picked yourself up a stud cornerback who has maybe not looked so good in the early going. I guess he's taken some crap from the team, and I guess we'll see. What happens with that, but he's not looked great necessarily. Myles Garrett looks like a bat out of hell. Myles Garrett looks incredibly impressive, and then you got Michael Kendricks, who I thought was a big get for them, and now he's going to jail for insider trading. So who knows what's going to happen with that? I think in the very least he's going to be suspended if he gets a chance to play this year. I think their defense is still going to be a work in progress. I don't think Ward is necessarily ready yet, or so from everything I've heard, he's not necessarily ready yet. I think Garrett's going to be even better this year than he was last year, and I think they're going to be a better team. But to expect them to go from 1 win in 32 to winning 6 or 7 or 8 games is just insane. It doesn't happen. They're in a tough division. They do get to play the AFC East, which is why I think they probably go 2-2 in the AFC East. I think they win 2 out of the Buffalo, Miami, Jets games, and obviously they're going to get smacked by the Pats. But I think they win 2 games there. I think best case for them, they go 2-4 in the division. I know a lot of people are picking them to win week 1 against the Steelers, which is a possibility. People picked them last year to do the same thing, and I believe the year before they almost beat the Ravens in week 1 and then lost. I think it was week 1. It might have been week 2, but I think it was week 1. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I just don't see them going better than 2-4 in the division, and I don't see them going better than 2-2 against the AFC East, which means if you're getting to 6 wins, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be tough for them because at the end of the day, they're still not a great football team. and they still have a lot of way to go. And this is the year maybe where they've got a lot of guys coming in, a lot of guys having to learn. And I know, we're expecting Njoku to have a better year, and they've got a better receiving core. I just don't think they're there. So if you have a betting account and you can get them at under 5.5 wins at plus money, I think that you should definitely do that, because I have them at 4-12 this year. I think 5-11 is top end. I don't think they get to 6-10. I don't think that's possible. I think under 5.5 is free money. So that's how I feel about the AFC North. We will be doing the NFC North hopefully tomorrow, and we'll be posting that. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for giving me your opinions on stuff. Thanks for letting me know what you think. I very much appreciate it. You guys are the best. Thank you.